Hello, Savannah. We have your mother, Nancy. 6 words. That's all it took. A stranger writing your name on a piece of paper and telling you they have your mother. Not a stranger who broke a window. Not a stranger you can picture in your mind. A stranger who knew exactly what to say to make your heart stop beating. For 6 months, those words sat inside an FBI evidence file where nobody could hear them. Not the public, not the news, not even the true crime podcasts that built entire episodes around this disappearance. The FBI kept the ransom note sealed because every word in it was either a clue or a weapon, and they could not tell which one it was. Then on July 22nd, something broke open. The Crime Junkie podcast brought in Brianna Whitney, a reporter who had been covering this case from the very beginning in Arizona. And she read the note out loud, all of it, every line, every threat, every detail that had been hidden from the public for nearly half a year. For the first time since Nancy Guthrie vanished, the world heard what Savannah Guthrie heard. What she heard was not just a ransom demand, it was a letter built to break a daughter. The note opens with a line that sounds almost gentle. She is safe but scared. Safe but scared. 4 words that do something worse than threaten you. They give you hope. Not proof of life, not a photograph, not a voice recording, not a single detail that only a living Nancy Guthrie could provide. Just hope. The words safe but scared are a leash around your neck. They tell you your mother is alive without showing you. They keep you from falling apart. They keep you from panicking. They keep you from calling every police department and every news station you can find. Because as long as you believe she is safe, you will do what they say. You will stay quiet. You will follow the instructions. You will believe the note. Whoever wrote this understood something about human psychology that most people never think about. Hope is more paralyzing than despair. If someone tells you your mother is dead, you break down, you grieve, and eventually you start acting. You call people, you demand answers, you fight. But if someone tells you your mother is alive and in danger, you freeze. You stop moving. You do nothing except exactly what they tell you to do. Because any wrong move might kill her, any phone call might tip them off, any mistake might be the last one she ever pays for. That is not a threat. That is a cage. And Savannah was locked inside it from the moment she read those words. Then comes the money. $4 million in Bitcoin by 5 o'clock on Thursday, February 5th. That is the first deadline. But the note does not stop there. If you miss Thursday, the price goes up. $6 million by 5 o'clock on Monday, February 9th. And after Monday, there is no more negotiation. Think about what that structure does to a person sitting alone in a room reading it for the first time. $4 million is already an impossible number for almost anyone. But the note gives you a discount. Pay faster and pay less. Hesitate and the price goes up. This is not how kidnappers talk. This is how salespeople talk. Buy now and save. Wait and pay more. The note is applying the pressure of a clearance sale to the life of a human being. Your mother's life is on sale and the clock is running. And the deadlines are close together. Thursday to Monday. That is roughly 96 hours. 4 days to decide whether you believe a stranger who says they have your mother. 4 days to figure out whether this is real or a cruel trick. 4 days to gather $4 million in a currency you may have never used before in your life. The note does not care about any of that. It just gives you a clock and starts it ticking. Every hour that passes, the pressure grows. Every hour, the number you have to find gets bigger. Every hour, you are weighing the risk of going to the FBI against the risk of not going. Because the note also tells you what happens if you talk to the wrong people. And what it says about that is the most disturbing part of all. If the payment is not received by the last deadline on Monday the 9th at 5 p.m., she will be killed. Read that line again. She will be killed, not harmed, not moved, not threatened further, killed. The note does not soften the blow. It gives you the worst possible outcome in the plainest possible language. No room for interpretation, no room for bargaining, just a deadline and a consequence. And then it adds something that turns the knife in a way nothing else in the note does. Your mother is aware of this and her life is in your hands. Your mother is aware of this. That means if Nancy Guthrie is alive, someone told her what was happening. Someone looked at her and said, your daughter has until Monday to pay, and if she does not, you die. Nancy knows. She is sitting somewhere, waiting, counting the hours, knowing that her survival depends on whether her daughter can produce $6 million in a cryptocurrency she may not even understand. And her life is in your hands, not in the hands of the FBI, not in the hands of the police, not in the hands of a trained hostage negotiator. In yours, Savannah's. The note takes every institution designed to protect people and shoves them aside. It says, you are the only one who can save her. You. Not a professional, not a system, not a government, you. That is not a ransom demand. That is a guilt weapon. The author of this note did not just threaten a life. He manufactured a bond between mother and daughter and then made each one responsible for the other's suffering. Nancy thinks her daughter has to pay or she dies. Savannah thinks her mother is waiting for her to act or she dies. Neither one can communicate with the other. Neither one can verify anything. They are both trapped in separate rooms, holding separate pieces of the same terror, and the only person who holds the key is the one who built the cage. This is the line that changes everything about how you understand this case. Because until July 23rd, nobody outside the FBI had heard it. The public knew there was a ransom note. They knew it demanded money. They knew it mentioned Bitcoin. But they did not know about the guilt bond. They did not know that the note's true purpose was not to collect a payment, but to create a psychological prison with no walls and no exit. And then the note adds two details that nobody had ever heard before. A white smartwatch on the floor near Nancy's bed. A floodlight in the backyard that had been destroyed. These are the details that made the FBI sit up and pay attention. Because nobody outside the house that night should know those things. A white watch on the floor near a bed, a broken light in the yard. These are not details you guess. These are not details you read in a newspaper article. These are the kind of details you only know if you were standing in that bedroom, looking down at that floor, seeing that watch lying there. And that is what made the note dangerous. It carried information that pointed towards someone who had been inside Nancy Guthrie's home. The FBI had to take it seriously. They had to consider the possibility that the note was real, that someone had been in that house, had seen that watch on the floor, had broken that light, and had taken Nancy with them when they left. But 6 months have passed, and the question that still hangs over this case is the same question the FBI has been unable to answer. Did the author know those details because they were there? Or did the author know those details because the information leaked? Because someone close to the investigation shared something they should not have, because a report circulated to too many people, because a detail slipped through a crack in the system and landed in the hands of someone who saw an opportunity to exploit it. Both possibilities are terrifying. If the author was inside the house, then a person with intimate knowledge of Nancy's home is still out there, walking free 6 months later. If the author had access to leaked information, then someone within the system betrayed the investigation from the inside. Either way, the note weaponized information that was never supposed to be public. And either way, the person who wrote it understood exactly what they were doing with every single word. And then the note ends, not with a demand, not with a threat, with a severing. You will not be able to contact me from here on out. There will be no negotiation. Do not play games. Law enforcement will not be able to help you. Read that the way Savannah had to read it. You cannot contact me. You cannot negotiate. You cannot ask for proof of life. You cannot ask for more time. You cannot ask a single question. And law enforcement cannot help you. The FBI cannot help you. The police cannot help you. Nobody on this earth can help you. You are alone with this letter, and the clock is ticking, and your mother's life is in your hands, and there is no one you can call. The note does not just demand money, it isolates. It cuts Savannah off from every system, every institution, every person who could help her navigate the worst moment of her life. It says, you are on your own. You have a deadline, you have a number, you have a threat, now figure it out, and then silence. 6 months of silence. No follow-up message. No second contact from the person who wrote this note. No attempt to verify whether payment was made. No attempt to arrange a drop location. No attempt to do any of the things a real kidnapper has to do to actually collect a ransom. The note arrived, made its demands, severed all communication, and then disappeared into nothing, which leaves us with the most uncomfortable question of all. If the note was real, where is the person who wrote it? Where is the person who knew about the watch and the floodlight? Where is the person who demanded $4 million in Bitcoin and then never checked the wallet to see if the money arrived? And if the note was fake, who wrote it? Who had access to those crime scene details? Who decided to torture a family with a letter full of false hope and impossible demands? Who sat down and wrote, "Your mother is aware of this and her life is in your hands," knowing that every word was a lie? And why would anyone do that? 6 months later, the FBI has not confirmed the note is real. They have not ruled it out. They are, in their own words, still investigating, still treating some of the notes as potentially legitimate, which means they do not know either. And that means Savannah Guthrie is still living with the words of that letter. Your mother is aware of this and her life is in your hands. A sentence that was designed to break her, a sentence that arrived 6 months ago and has never been answered, a sentence that sits in the air like a breath that nobody has let go of yet. There is something else about this note that nobody has fully reckoned with yet. The person who wrote it understood the relationship between a mother and a daughter at a level that goes beyond criminal planning. They did not just know that Savannah would be the one to receive the note. They knew that the threat against Nancy would be more powerful if it was filtered through Savannah's love rather than delivered as a blunt statement. A note that says we have Nancy Guthrie and we will kill her is terrifying. A note that says your mother is aware of this and her life is in your hands is something else entirely. It is personalized terror. It is weaponized intimacy. It is the difference between pointing a gun at someone and pointing a gun at their child while making them watch. The author knew that difference, and they chose the second option every single time they picked up the pen. Nobody has exhaled. Not the FBI, not the family, not the public. And somewhere, the person who wrote those words knows that. They know the cage they built is still standing. They know the clock they set is still ticking in someone's head. And they know that 6 months later, nobody has come close enough to find them. That might be exactly what they wanted all along.